Now then, people, and welcome back to the Just Your Football Show. It's your second video of the day, and we're going to talk about Charles de Ketelaere in some more depth, and of course, look at the potential centre-forward position. If Rafinha does go, as we discussed earlier, or if Jack Harrison is sold, then Leeds United have some money to play with, and therefore we know that they want a striker. Of course, if Rafinha stays and Jack doesn't, they may not even dip in the market for a striker, but we know that they want one and do covet one. We know that we coveted Eddie Nketiah, but of course, he's got the famous Thierry Henry shirt and is staying at Arsenal. I think it's a madness. I'm sort of glad he chose Arsenal, to be honest, although I think he could have done a job. And we know in the past we have been linked with other strikers. Before we chat about them, let's have a chat about the current situation concerning Charles de Ketelaere. We know that he's Leeds' top target. Okay, if you look at some of the targets we've been mentioned, we haven't quite got that number one. Although I believe Tyler Adams was the number one, there is a lot of fans' preferred option would have been Kamara, would have been Gakpo, would have been Charles de Ketelaere. And Leeds United have struggled to get that number one target as of yet, that marquee signing, which Charles de Ketelaere would be. Now, Bruges are willing to sell him, and Leeds United are willing to pay a record fee for anyone leaving the Jupiler Pro League, which came from Jonathan David's move to Lille. Another player Leeds United were interested in. There's a level of interest in Charles de Ketelaere at the moment that Bruges know they can hold out for a big fee. They can hold out for a record fee. And Leeds United have made their interest plain. Every man and his dog knows Leeds United hold Charles de Ketelaere right at the top of their list. But of course, AC Milan want him as well and have been long-term favourites to land him. I said that to you just last week that he'd rejected Leeds, and he said, loads of people said, no, Phil Hayes said we're in. Yeah, we were in for him. It doesn't mean he fancies that move. We've almost got an identical situation to Rafinha. Like Charles de Ketelaere is saying, yeah, I know Leeds want me, but I don't want them. Okay, and a lot of fans will say, oh, if you don't want to come, we don't want him, etc. And I hear that. I do hear that, but he's a top player. The move to AC Milan isn't 100%, and therefore you have to look at a different option. You can't say Rafinha's first choice was Leeds United last season. A lot of the other clubs probably couldn't meet the asking price, and he's gone, okay, I'll go to Leeds. And look what he's done for him. So that's something we need to be saying to Charles de Ketelaere. Easy for me to say. Now, as I say, he's the main target for AC Milan in their number 10 position. Okay, they've brought in Divock Origi. They want Hakim Ziyech, who'll probably play off the right or the left. And they want Charles de Ketelaere to play in that number 10. Now, let's not forget as well, Charles de Ketelaere gives you versatility. The guy can play everywhere. He has literally nearly played everywhere. He's like Paul Reaney. He's even played at left back. You know what I mean? And we said yesterday that Milan had put in a bid, all right? Apparently, they're willing to up that bid to 25 million, okay, to try reach an agreement. And there's already been positive talks with Charles de Ketelaere and, of course, the powers that be at AC Milan, an agreement on a 5-year contract, which does happen, Now, Leeds are offering significantly more, yeah? I think around about 25 million, maybe rising up to 30 with add-ons, okay? And the Leeds United add-ons are a lot more enticing than any terms Milan have put on the table so far. And like's been said, it'll break the record. Now, if AC Milan want to match the offer, right, then of course we're blown out of the water, we're done. Okay, he doesn't move to Leeds United. But are they willing to do that? They aren't as cash rich. This is what we were saying earlier, the Barcelona, AC Milan, these big clubs, they're skin. They're skin. But of course, much like Leeds United and the Chelsea situation with Rafinha, Bruges are willing to accept Leeds. It's more money for them. Of course they are, But it could come down to who the player wants. And therefore, they may have to reach an agreement with AC Milan. But I hope they dig their heels in, like we are doing with Barcelona. If you don't have the cash, then you can't do it, It'll be interesting to see what happens. I really, really, really want Charles de Ketelaere. I don't know who Leeds United go for after that, because it's very different profile to Eddie Nketiah, who we know was that unnamed striker at the time before he signed back on with Arsenal. Now, of course, Charles de Ketelaere favours Milan. Why? Well, they won Serie A. They can offer him Champions League football. It's a World Cup year. If he's playing in the Champions League, Roberto Martinez gets him in that Belgium squad, etc. And he's had talks with technical director Maldini and Stefano Pioli, and he's ready to move that, make that move. Now, the guy that wrote the article and who was pretty close to the ground, okay, is keen to stress that this is not the end of the matter for Leeds United, okay? It's still early in the transfer. He said the onus is now on Milan, so we have to keep our eyes on AC Milan and see whether or not they're willing to match us. If they're not, then Charles de Ketelaere has to say, do you know what? My only option is Leeds United, because Club Brugge are ready to sell, you know? And the guy that wrote the article, who's close to the ground, is saying there remains, although it might be slim, there remains a chance he could still move to West Yorkshire. And a lot of people will say, well, if you don't want to be here, don't sign him, etc. But this guy is described as being the heir to Kevin De Bruyne. Even if he comes for a few seasons, a player of that quality you cannot sniff at. You know, he scored 25 goals and assisted 20 in his 120 outings for Club Brugge. He's coveted by a host of Europeans' top clubs. The next Kevin De Bruyne, man. You can't sniff your nose up at that. He plays all over the pitch as well, including on both wings, in attacking and wide midfield roles, and can play just off Bamford in the shadow striker role or even lead the line. You know, he's a solid prospect for anywhere in the Premier League. And he's the one for me that I really, 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 really want. So hopefully we can get it done, and AC Milan can't stump up the cash. But at the minute, it's a very, very slim chance. Now, of course, if we don't sign Charles de Ketelaere, and either Harrison or Rafinha go, then we go after a striker. I envisage a situation where Rafinha stays, if that happens, that we don't even dip in the market for a striker. I may be wrong, but, you know, it's worthwhile talking point. We'll talk about this on Midweek Fix as well tonight and get your views on it as well. And I want to know your views in the comments. But in terms of other options out there for Leeds United, just looking at the ones we've been linked to so far, of course, you've got Junior Ademi, who was centre forward at Salzburg. Very, very young, very, very raw. I don't think he would be the one for me. We were linked to Elbeth Ellis, who's right wing, but can also play centre forward. You've got Tati Castellanos, which I know a lot of Leeds fans were dying for. But again, apparently he was offered in January and we turned it down. I don't see that being a move Leeds United are interested. Could we go back in for Gakpo? Although he's, you know, he plays more of an attacking midfield role, can play out wide. He can play centre forward as well. But the one for me that I would prefer us to go after, if we couldn't get CDK, would be Cali Mwendo. He had a great time at Lens whilst on loan from PSG, leads the line at under 21s level, and has scored a goal nearly every 3 games, I think, off the top of my head. I think he would be the one, and has got pace to burn in as well. And we know pace, it's good. It's not the be all and end all, but it's nice to have that in the locker, right? Look, the centre forward situation is going to rumble on. It's going to be a mad window, as I said. But listen, keep it locked at the Just Joe Football Show. There is still more to come. And of course, tonight's live stream. I want to know your thoughts on the CDK situation. Get in the comments and let me know. And I'll see you in a bit. Peace out. Leeds.